Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the SEEAUDIO NEKO. This is the latest from SEEAUDIO, 6BA IEM this time. And this particular unit, I got it through HIFIGO. I bought it from them. This is, you could say, an IEM which kind of takes on the formula of the Bravery, and to a certain extent as well the NEO, although the NEO I can't really talk too much because I've never heard it, which is, well, the Bravery is a 4BA and the NEO is a 10BA, and kind of from what I am able to pick up, fetch what both those models had of good and join it in a single IEM. This is priced at $699, so it's not exactly pocket money. It is at that price. It's facing some very stiff competition, which I'll introduce to you in a second. But anyway, let me just take you through the box. The box is the usual SEEAUDIO fare, a really nice presentation with the whole Wi-Fi thing, if that's your vibe, if that's your thing. Anyway, you open it up like that. The IEMs came sitting over there, as you can see, actually in this position with the nice little plaque there. Okay, plenty of paperwork and so on. All right, brings a nice little key ring, brings a nice selection of tips. I'm actually using the stock tips. It's got some foams and got some silicones which are reminiscent of the VGVP07s. The additional plugs for the cable. The cable is in effect audio Cadmus. I will call your attention to the way that you introduce the different plugs into the cable terminal. It's not exactly the easiest thing to do in the world, but hey, it is what it is. It's their system. Make sure you align it properly, and then that's it. As for the cable itself, I'll be very honest. The cable is fine. I'm not going to say that the cable isn't good, because I would be lying if I said that. The cable is fine. I just feel that perhaps the choice of this cable wasn't the ideal, mainly because, why? Mainly because it pushes the NEKO into a price bracket which makes it hard to justify it, even even though that it does include a nice cable like it does, it makes it hard. But anyway, the accessories, I'll finish showing you the accessories and so on. Nice tips, nice cable. Just put this away here, take it out of the context here. Okay, brings this puck style case, which is basically very, I mean, it's a copy paste. It's not really the correct word, but it's basically the same as the Soft Ears RSV's case, exactly the same. It's just that it says obviously SEEAUDIO over there. Okay, it's got plenty of space inside to anyway. And then the IEMs themselves, really, I mean, for a 6BA it's quite small. I'll be showing you the other IEMs that I have here in a second, and some of them are monsters. I mean, the Duno SA6 or MK2 is an absolute monster next to this. So the IEMs are not really small. Beautiful resin shell. The whole theme, everything is really nice. I'm using a Hakuge cable, by the way, and I'm using this cable because I tried a few cables, and this cable, for some reason, it just matched the NEKO better than the stock cable, and also better than some of the other cables I tried. The other cable that I tried that I was also quite impressed with how it actually performed was the Jazeer cable, the one that comes with the 41T, which you can purchase it separately. It costs around $30 from their store, and that cable also actually performed quite well. But I just opted for this Hakuge because it just looks the part. I like the way they've braided the cable. It looks really smart. And although the green doesn't exactly match, yeah, the blue, fine, okay, but you know, it just, the quality of the cable and the looks that it's got, it just matches very nicely the actual IEM. As for its fit, flawless, no issue. It allows for a reasonably deep insertion, so no problems there. What else can I say about it in terms of its specs? It's rated at 110 dBs sensitivity and 25 ohm impedance. It's relatively easy to to power, although it does need a little bit more volume than some of the other models over here. And I'm guessing that's mainly because of the sensitivity not being as high as some other models usually are in terms of all BAs. And that's basically it. I mean, this is pretty much the physical aspect of it. It's a nice built, it's nicely built shell, fits nicely, isolates well. Really nothing to be said there. What then do I have? Let me just wind this up nicely. What then have I selected to compare here with the NEKO? And before I carry on, I just want to say that this isn't so much for me to find out an outright winner, because all of these IEMs that I have here are very, very good. You know, that is the reality. I would be lying if they weren't good. They are all very good. There are some which I gravitate more personally towards them, but they are all good. And so this is not so much an attempt by me to say, oh, okay, this is better, the NEKO loses there or doesn't beat this one. No, it's more excuse me, more an idea of positioning the NEKO, so that if you have any of these other IEMs by chance, you can better get a feel of what the NEKO is about. Okay, so on the left hand side here, I've got the Night Oblivion Batustar, 10 BA. It uses a mix of Sonion in the bass and then Knowles for the rest. Absolute detail monster. For me, one of the most impressive IEMs I have heard in terms of detail. Absolutely incredible. The balance they've struck of the whole frequency range, everything, I mean, absolutely fantastic. The mids and the highs on this thing are surreal. The bass is really good, maybe not as much bass as some others here in terms of overall quantity, but the quality of the bass is, you know, it's you know, spot on. And the thing that it impressed me the most is, and this is a characteristic that I usually like, is the timbre and the tonality. Does it sound realistic? Does it sound close to the original? Although you can say that maybe it is a little bit on the fake side to a certain extent, if you actually want to nitpick and be all audiophile correct. The reality is the timbre and tonality of the Batustar is absolutely incredible. For me, at least, it's incredible, because with all the detail that it has, and with all the abilities of going to fetch all the last little bit, twinkly and sparkly, to still sound so true, so original, so organic. It's actually quite commendable. The next one is the EPZ, the 530. An absolute underdog of an IEM. Nobody almost gives this EPZ a second look, and I think I was probably one of the first people to bring this IEM to the attention of people, of you guys in general. 5 Sonion BAs inside, and the thing that captivated me here is the bass from a single BA. Incredible. Really good, not only in terms of quality but quantity. The timbre and the tonality, and then the extension up top, upper mids and trebles, very good. I mean, seriously nice IEM for the $400 odd dollars that it costs. Look, I've said this, I'd take this over a Studio 4, and a Softier Studio 4 was all the rage, and to a certain extent I guess it's not exactly even fair for me to compare one and the other. But trust me, this is really good. I've heard of one or two cases of people that were complaining a little bit about the build quality or the finish in terms of the exit here in the nozzle, but I also heard that those customers were subsequently given a substitute unit. So that's a testament to how serious EPZ is in satisfying their clients. So if if there was a problem there, they made sure they resolved it, and there wasn't no questions asked. Solve it, resolve it, make sure the client is happy. So that was it. Duno SA6 MK2, one of my favorite IEMs, especially in terms of its timbre and tonality. Crazy good bass. Fair enough. I will give it to those that say the bass is a little bit slow. I will give it to them, yes. The bass is not the usual BA bass. Over here you notice the BA bass, but it's got a very nice tonality. Over here it's already got a little bit more of that DD kind of feel to it. Over here it's definitely got that DD feel to it, but I think maybe I don't know. Look, the mids, upper mids, and treble I think are flawless. Period. And then okay, fine. If you have it in the boosted bass setting, that can because the bass is a little bit, and this is not the best word for me to use, because the bass is perhaps a little bit sloppy by comparison to the rest of the frequency range and how snappy and clean it is. It can kind of come across as an overall less clean IEM, especially if you compare it with something like the 7th Acoustics Supernova, which I don't have. I'm still waiting on my one to arrive, so that's going to be a while. But anyway, SA6 for me personally, and at the time when I first reviewed it, I compared it with the Neon Pro. It is incredible. It trades blows very solidly with the Neon Pro, only really losing out in maybe one or two technicalities, maybe a little bit soundstage loses out there a little bit, and the snappiness of the bass is a little bit more snappy on the Neon Pro, but otherwise, I mean, for a 6BA, fantastic. In terms of price, this is around 549. I actually didn't mention the price of the Butastar is 599. This is about 440. This is 699. This is 549. The next one, Panon Turbo, by far the bassiest IEM of all of them here. An absolute beast when it comes to the bass department. Again, Sonian BAs for the bass, Knowles in the mids, and Sonian in the highs. You have to approach it obviously with that knowledge that this has got loads of bass. The bass has been emphasized here. So yes, you will notice differences in terms of ultimate detail retrieval compared to the others. Even if you switch off the bass, well, I haven't got the turbo switch on, and the bass switch I have got it on, but it's just giving me a little bit of a boost. Really, it's not doing that much of a difference to it being off. Otherwise, besides the fantastic bass, it's got pretty much correct timbre and tonality. It just loses out, like I said, a little bit in the detailed retrieval. It's not as detailed as some of the other IEMs here, especially if I'm going to compare it with the Butastar. Definitely not as detailed. But overall, it's a very fun, very engaging, very satisfying listen. And I think it made sense to have it here, especially because of the price, $499. It made sense to have it here to also better position the NEKO. And finally, on the right hand side here, the most expensive out of all of these, which is the Soundrime, the SR8, 14 BAs. It's got a mix again of Sonian and Knowles. It's got 4 BAs for the sub bass from Sonian. It's got 4 again from mid bass IEMs BA units from Sonian once again. Then it's got some Knowles for the mids, and then some Sonians again some Knowles again, if I'm not mistaken, for the highs. So it's a nice mix there of Knowles and Sonian. And the switches that it has as well. I mean, this has got switches, this has got switches, this has got just a bass switch, no switch, and switches as well for the bass and for the treble. Although the treble one I really wouldn't use, just the bass gives it a little bit of a boost. But anyway, the SR8, very nice, a very nice IM. Where does it maybe you find the biggest difference of it to the others? It's got more mid bass emphasis, yes, but it doesn't have the same sub bass rumble as some of the other ones here. You feel more that sub bass rumble on something like this, the Duno, the EPZ, the Turbo definitely. It's got a little bit less sub bass rumble, but it's got very good, very well executed mid bass, thumpy, quick, snappy, great mids. It does justice, although it's not a Pennine or ISN product, it does justice to that typical Pennine and ISN signature. The Turbo is a departure from that usual signature, which is what that very well executed mids, and that's what the SR8 has. It's absolutely spot on mids with the right amount of extension in terms of the highs and the right amount of extension as well in terms of the lows. Okay, for 14 BAs, $749, I guess it's not too expensive. Obviously, you could argue, oh, but 14 BAs compared to a 6 BA, it's not fair. Right? No, I brought it here because it just made sense in terms of the price. Okay, what is the sound of the NEKO? The sound of the NEKO is a sound which is got traits of some of these IMs. Mainly the two IMs that it's got the most characteristics similar to are the EPZ, the 530, and the Duno SA6 MK2 with the bass switch off. The focus is the mids without question, with good extension down low, good extension up high. It is not as squeaky clean as like the EPZ or the Butastar. Definitely not. The upper mids are not on that level in terms of intensity, at least. In quality, they are almost the same, but very correct tonally, very correct. If there's one thing that straight away comes to it's very evident is they paid attention in making sure that it was correct in the way that it portrayed instruments, in the way that it so everything is very correct in that aspect. Bass, I would have liked a little bit more quantity. I'm not going to deny a little bit more quantity. The quality is spot on, just a little bit more quantity. The EPZ has got more quantity than this. Okay, that's just an example for you to see. I'm not even going to say about the Turbo because obviously yes. In terms of the mids, like I said, perfectly executed. Female and male vocals are spot on. There's really nothing I can point out there. Instruments, for example, Nevermore from Dennis Delmath is flawlessly executed. All I Need Is Love from Tim Bowman as well. Nice. The song is done fantastic, really. Here but I'm Gone from Vanessa Fernandez. Her voice on the NEKO is amazing, really good. Is This Love from Bob Marley, again nicely executed. So it's an IM that is pretty versatile in terms of its genres of music that it can play. It's not a basshead monster, obviously, so stuff that has got a little bit more bass, it will do it, but it's not in its comfort zone, let's put it that way. But it never struggled or it never got to the point where I could say, oh no, it's gonna fall apart or anything. No, it scales pretty decently. Actually, I find that when you give it a little bit more volume, it actually opens up and plays better than if you are playing it down low. At the low volumes, it sounds okay, but it doesn't really impress you. But once you past that, let's say 50% volume level, and it starts coming alive in a very engaging manner, and it becomes, I personally think that it plays better up top than when you have the volume up than when you have the volume down. In terms of its technical capabilities, soundstage, imaging, detailed retrieval, timbre and tonality, I've mentioned it's perfect. Detailed retrieval is okay. not on the same level as some of the others, definitely not the Butastar. I found that the EPZ also has more detailed retrieval. I even found that the MK2 has got more detailed retrieval, if with the bass switch off, obviously. Not the turbo. The turbo's got less. In terms of its soundstage, a little bit more on the closed side, not as big and as expensive as, for example, as well as the Butastar. Imaging, for the most part, very correct, very spot, very easy to identify. Everything spot on, really. Nothing really that I can point in a negative manner. So there you have it. I mean, basically that's a general overview. Compared then to the Butastar, the biggest differences that you will see here are detailed retrieval is on a different level. So if you want something which is detailed retrieval capable, it's not on the same level as the Butastar. Okay, forget that. It's not. And then yes, you do have this issue of one is $5.99, the other one is $6.99. Okay, fine. This brings in effect audio cable, blah blah blah. Honestly, I think this is my personal opinion. I would have opted for a less, let's say, fancy cable, something that would still work perfectly, and had the price of the SEEAUDIO NEKO drop $100 or $150 and make it more competitive. Okay, because with the Butastar, there's really, if detailed retrieval is not your thing, then fine. But if you want detailed retrieval, this is not it loses. Compared to the EPZ 530, they are very similar to a certain extent. Okay, I feel that the EPZ's got slightly better bass quantity and better detailed retrieval up top. The mids are more or less the same in terms of its technicalities. Again, they trade blows. Where is the difference? The difference is in the price, and I mean this is $440, $6.99. Is there enough to justify one over the other? Again, questionable. I would say no, to be honest. I would say no, especially if you have this. This is not an upgrade for that. The NEKO is not an upgrade on the EPZ 530, to be honest. Okay. Compared then, let me start on this end here. Compared to the SR 8, I mean, fine, it's $749, basically the same kind of price, 14 BA. So you have more BA count there. So okay, that makes more sense in terms of value for money then. In terms of sound, they are a little bit different to make a fair comparison. That one will definitely be more engaging. The SR8 will definitely be more fun, more alive, will get you going more than the NEKO. The NEKO is all about being suave, about being smooth, chilled, relaxed, nothing in a hurry. Everything done, with a lot of peace and tranquility. That's the vibe of the NEKO. The SR8 now is a very dynamic IM. It's loads of fun, engaging. Ultimately, I guess maybe it loses a little bit of polish in terms of you noticing a little bit the BA timbre as compared to the NEKO, which is something that you don't really notice on the NEKO. At least I didn't. But if I have to compare again values, it's still it's not an easy this or that, because the rest of the way that they play back is pretty much very similar compared to the turbo. Well, the turbo, this is definitely the antithesis of the NEKO. If this is about being smooth, this is about hitting you in the head with a hammer, but doing it in a very classy manner, mind you. The bass of the turbo is next level. In the story, it's next level. Seriously, for a BA unit to have bass like that, it's well done. It's been very well tuned. Yes, even if you cut it to the lowest point, it's still got an 80 dB boost of bass, which is quite significant. 8 to 10 dB boost of bass, which is quite significant. So it's never going to be detailed, or at least as detailed as the NEKO. The NEKO in that aspect just completely walks all over the turbo. In terms of timbre and tonality, again, very much like I was talking earlier about the Butastar. Although not correct because it's colored, it's a very well executed colored timbre and tonality. Let's put it that way. If I have to just compare these two, which is the most correct, definitely the Butastar. If I compare it with the NEKO, the NEKO is also more correct in terms of timbre and tonality than the Turbo. But the Turbo is not offensive by any means. So, you know, and this has got again a price tag of $4.99. It's focused to a different crowd of people. So here it's actually pretty easy to kind of make a more objective choice. This is more, let's say, audiophile. This is more fun, okay? And then finally the SA6, the MK2. And I'll be quite straightforward. I don't think that the NEKO has enough to beat the MK2. Why? Even with the fact that the bass here is maybe not on the same level of ultimate, let's say, snappiness as it is on the NEKO, it does offer the ability to have more bass quantity, which the NEKO doesn't do because it doesn't have any switches. So if I compare it with the bass switch here off, the bass levels will be about the same, although this gives you the perception of better rumble. It can reach down more, and that confers the mids and the highs then a different atmosphere, different feel. Upper mids and highs on the SA6 are perfect for me. Perfect. In my opinion, better than the NEKO. Okay. Again, all these huge differences, no, it's not huge differences. You can pick up on them, and then it's ultimately a question of choice, what you like listening to, what you prefer, you know. And then if you put the bass switch on, fine, fair enough. It might become a little bit too thick for some, too overdone. Personally, I love it. I love it with the bass switch on. I mean, and when I show you the graphs just now, I will show you all of these IMs in the setting that I am using compared to the NEKO. Obviously, if you have switches like the case of the Turbo, the SR8, to a certain extent as well. The SA6 and the Butastar, that does allow you to play a little bit more and fine-tune the IEM a little bit more to your personal taste, while with the EPZ and the NEKO you're stuck with what it comes, you know, that's it. This is how it does it, this is how it plays, and you either like it or you don't like it. You can perhaps even do some DIY attempts to retune it or to adjust it better to you, but usually it doesn't, it's not easy, it's not an easy thing to do. So that's it, guys. I mean, basically, what can I say in conclusion about the NEKO? It's a smooth IM, you know, does everything really well in terms of how it plays its full spectrum of frequencies. Instruments are fine, you know, great timbre, great tonality. What do I think is its biggest flaw? Its price. I hate saying this so bluntly. I mean, it's a fantastic IM, really well accessorized, but I think that SEEAUDIO might have perhaps bitten a little bit more than what they could chew, because like I said, I don't want to compare this with the Supernova, for example, because I don't have it here, but the Supernova is basically the same price and it's leagues above in terms of sound reproduction. You know, it's on a different level together. Same thing with the Butastar. Butastar it's a better playing IEM. It plays better and it costs less. So how am I going to justify this to you guys? You know, it's a cleaner sounding IM, more detailed, everything. Unless you don't like detailed retrieval, then the NEKO will be your option. You know, with regards to the EPZ, the same situation. It's got an insanely competitive price for something which plays really well, and there isn't enough differences here in terms of sound or in terms of advantages for the NEKO to justify it over the EPZ. The SA6, I've said, the Turbo is not a fair comparison because it's completely two different crowds of people, and the SR8 again, basically the same situation. You know, it's a little bit of a different style of tuning, but it plays really well. You know, it plays really well. So this, I would say, listen to it. I'm not gonna say no, don't buy it. No, I would say listen to it. Have a listen if you have the possibility to listen to it. Okay, have a listen. If you have some of these IEMs that are here, I would say that the only one that would really make sense if you have a turbo, then this definitely makes sense getting, because it will give you a different flavor. But if you have a Duno SA6, if you have an EPZ530, if you have the Buta Star, or if you have even the SR8, this is not going to bring anything additional to the equation. Trust me, it's not. If you have a turbo, yes, it will definitely bring you a different flavor, something that might be of interest to, as a complement then to the turbo. Okay, anyway guys, I'll show you now quickly the graphs and we'll wrap it up. Alright, take care. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section for the SEEAUDIO NEKO. So let me just take away some of these graphs here so that we can start seeing things a little bit better. So the NEKO is where are we? Okay. Alright. There we go. Okay, so this is the SEEAUDIO NEKO. As you can see, pretty smooth graph, nothing really that comes up or that shows itself as unusual. Although it looks like it's got bleed into the mids or anything, there's no real bleed. I mean, BAs usually have a tendency of graphing slightly different, or they can graph in a manner which would make you believe there's a certain type of sound if you were talking about a DD, and in the meantime it's not that. So in terms of the bass actually sounds leaner than what it graphs, let's put it that way. Okay, it's got a nice quality bass, it's got decent enough sub bass, decent enough mid bass, but it needs a little bit more, and especially when I start now comparing it to some others that graph in a similar way but sound completely different. Okay, so that's that. First one I'm comparing it with is the SA6 with the bass switch on. I've basically equalized all the graphs for 500 Hertz, so they're all normalized at 500 Hertz. And as you can see, in terms of the mids, upper mids and treble, it seems like they're basically the same. But when you actually listen to it, the SA6 MK2 for me has got more detail, more energy than the NEKO. In terms of the bass, definitely got more bass, definitely. And even if I put it in the bass off switch, the bass, although seems like it's been reduced, and that NEKO now is able to take the lead, it still doesn't. It still sounds a little bit more on the leaner side. The bass on the SA6 is always very authoritative. It's got a lot of authority to it. Okay, that's it. Next one I'm going to show you now is the EPZ, the 530, and the EPZ, I mean, a lot of similarities in terms of the bass is exactly the same, how it graphs, but it sounds totally different. You notice that it's got this little extra energy, and you notice that it's got especially more treble and extension up top than the NEKO. Is it a huge difference? It's enough to be noticed. The EPZ is, honestly, the EPZ 530 is an IEM that many are underestimating. Why? Don't really know, but the truth is it's a very good sounding IEM, and with the price that it has, again, the NEKO doesn't offer anything truly unique. They ultimately sound very similar, but the EPZ's got a bit more guts down low, which makes it more entertaining, more engaging. Okay. Next one is the Sound Rhyme, the SR8. Although it seems like, okay, no, not as much sub bass, and the mid bass is, no, it's got way more mid bass, way more mid bass. From Dusk to Dawn is one of the songs that I use, and you notice straight away that the slam is totally different. I mean, it's 4 Sonian bass plus then the additional mid bass BAs, and all of them or to control all of them in a nice way in which they don't overpower has been quite an achievement. Mids are flawless, and again, even the extension up top, you would think, oh, but The NEKO's got more extension. Honestly, I didn't perceive it that way. I could be wrong, but I didn't perceive it that way. Okay. Next one is the non-turbo, and this is the setting that I used, which is just with a little bit of a boost on the bass. The first, not the turbo switch, but the bass switch, a little bit of a boost, which gives another 2 or 3 dBs. But even if I had to take that switch off, it would still have monstrous amounts of bass. I mean, I can just quickly put it so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. Pen on, there we go. So even if I take all the bass out and around you know, there we go. Okay, so that's with the bass, all the bass switches off. You can still see that it's got more bass than the SEEAUDIO NEKO. Graphically, in this position, it's no, the bass is about the same. No, it doesn't sound the same. It's way more ballsy, way more thick, way more engaging than the bass of the NEKO is. In this particular setting, which is with all of the bass switches off and only with the treble switch slightly emphasized or boosted, let's put it that way, it does open up a little bit more the turbo and does allow it to have slightly better detail retrieval. I will not deny that. But however, I feel that the turbo, to be enjoyed, then it must be with what it was designed to do, showing it, which is the bass. So that's why I use it with the setting that has just that little extra. It's like another 3-4 dBs of bass over the stock 8 to 10, so you end up with like 12 to 14 dBs of bass. And it's a lot of fun, trust me. I mean, it's really a lot of fun. It's just super engaging. It's it's really good. The mids and upper mids and treble, they're not badly executed, as you can see. They're fine. They're pretty well executed. It's just that they are overpowered to a certain extent by the amount of bass that you have. And it will affect things like detail retrieval. Obviously, it will, and you notice it. It's noticeable. You can pick up on that difference. And then finally, compared with the Night Oblivion, the Buddha Star, again another IM which graphs very similar, as you can see, very similar, bass, everything. But I mean, mids, upper mids, treble, and the detail past 10K. This here on the Buddha Star is just on another level of how detailed, how much it is there. The bass, it's about, in terms of quantity, it's very similar to the quantity of the NEKO. Maybe not as thin sounding, but it's kind of the same thing. Okay, kind of the same thing. What it does have is noticeably better quality, not a dramatic difference, but there's more texture to the bass. There's a little bit more, and maybe it's the fact that it's also got more detail retrieval. It also helps clean up the bass to a certain extent, but it's got a little bit more. So I mean, there you have it, guys. I mean, look, the reality is this: the NEKO is a very nice IM. It's well built, it's well put together, it sounds great, it sounds fantastic. It's just the price, I think, is just not the ideal for a product of this type, because you have a lot of really good IMs where for me to outright say no, it's better, I would be lying. So it's like I said earlier, if you own a turbo, then yes, this makes sense, as this is a very sensible and upgrade. But if you have something like the Duno SA6 MK2, this is not enough of an upgrade to justify the $150 price difference. No, it's not. If you have something like the EPZ 530, again the same situation. There's not enough there to justify that extra cost. It's debatable, obviously, always, but my opinion, my music, what I heard, SR8, the SR8, the prices are basically the same. The SR8 here, its biggest thing is obviously the fact that it's got a lot more hardware for the same price. So you could if you're a person that pays attention to that. And then sonically, the SR8 is very fun, very engaging. It's very correct, but very fun, and that makes it again a very difficult choice. Okay, and that's it. I mean, guys, what more can I say? Try it out, and that's it. As always, like and subscribe. Smash that button there, please, so that the amount of followers can carry on growing, and the YouTube algorithm also promotes my videos a little bit more. And any questions you might have, as always, please ask, and I'll see you in the next one. You take care now. Bye bye.